Calaroga Shark Media.
I am so cold. I've had it. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I've got the space heater on in the studio today. We'll test out the noise reduction. I thought I was going to do a Grammys preview today. Surprisingly, Trevor Noah, I don't see that he did any press for this. Very, very interesting. So I've got a normal episode for you today, and there's plenty to talk about. But let's start with late night. They were making fun of the Melania movie. Jimmy Kimmel made fun of the red carpet and who was there. It included former New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who did not have the best of departures. Dr. Oz, Todd and Julie Chrisley, RFK. Kimmel said it was either a movie premiere or season 35 of Dancing with the Stars. Colbert said the premiere was attended by members of the administration like Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem, RFK Jr., and Kash Patel, as well as several former NFL players and UFC fighters, which means a bunch of people with brain damage sat next to NFL players and UFC fighters. I like that a lot, but the best jokes actually came from Fallon. He was excited. It was a big weekend for the movies. Yeah, you got the Melania documentary and you have the new Rachel McAdams film Send Help, which, fun fact, was actually the original title of the Melania movie. Fallon again. Right now, Trump is encouraging everyone to see it in IMAX so his hands look regular size. But critics are saying the film isn't great. I'm not saying it's bad, but after the movie, Trump took his name off the Kennedy Center. That's fantastic. Andrew Schulz is, quote, continuing to distance himself from President Donald Trump. On the Flagrant podcast, Andrew Schulz said, let's talk about what happened in Minneapolis. ICE murdered an American citizen in cold blood, and then the Trump administration called him a domestic terrorist. That's it, like plain and simple. I see the administration trying to spin it, and it's effing disgusting. The editorial points out Schulz made a mistake, confusing the Customs and Border Protection agents who killed Peretti with Immigration and Customs with ICE. Schulz continued, they didn't even have a moment where they're like, hey, we're reviewing the footage, we're trying to see what's really happening. All of them, Trump and all the cronies, put out collective statements that immediately blamed an American citizen that was exercising his First and Second Amendment rights, right? He has the right to protest, he has the right to carry a firearm. There's no question about this whatsoever, and the administration immediately comes out and they try to gaslight the public, which you can't do when we have 15 different videos of what happened. Andrew Schulz, you may recall, two things are true. One, before Biden was the president, you know who was president of the United States? This is a fun fact. President Donald Trump was president for 4 years. And then last year during the election cycle, Andrew Schulz had former President Trump on as a guest. Mr. Schulz seems surprised at how this administration has turned out. Schulz said, there's no question about this whatsoever. And the administration immediately comes out there and they try to gaslight the public, which you can't do when we have 15 different videos of what happened. Schulz acknowledged that he had Trump on the podcast, adding, I don't think any of us are having this conversation to like curry any goodwill to get people to like us or something like that. This is something that is undeniably abhorrent and should be called out. Simple as that. It's disgusting. As Detective John McClane said in Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. Joe Rogan, he's not wigged that he didn't win a Golden Globe. He explained, I didn't submit. They asked me to submit to be nominated for the Golden Globes, and he had to pay $500, and the $500 is for paperwork or whatever. And I said, no, I don't care. I already won. You can't tell me I didn't win. I've been number one for 6 years in a row. All of a sudden, you're going to have a contest in front of all these people wearing tuxedos, and you're going to say, now I'm not number one? F off. I don't care that I'm number one, but I am, in fact, number one. So all of a sudden, you have a contest to decide who's really number one amongst us? That's amongst you. You're allowed to have your opinion. You like Amy Poehler better than me? That's great. Rogan said he's never seen Amy Poehler's podcast. You gave it to a famous person, which, in that world, that's what they do. You give it to Amy Poehler amongst their circles. It's not going to have any criticism. I don't know if amongst her group, if I listen to all of them, I would decide that hers is number one, but I just know I didn't submit. I don't want to be part of that. I don't care. You're just a group of people that just decide all of a sudden you're going to give an award out. You get a trophy. F off. Speaking of award shows, the Grammys are on tonight on CBS, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, Johnny Mac thought Trevor Noah would do some press and would be talking about that today, but he really didn't do too much press. This is the third year in a row that Trevor Noah is both the host of the telecast and a nominee. Trevor Noah is nominated for Best Audiobook Narration and Storytelling Recording for Into the Uncut Grass. In 2024, he was nominated for Best Comedy Album for I Wish You Would, and in 2025 for Where Was I? 6 years ago, his album Son of Patricia was a finalist for Best Comedy Album. Trevor Noah lost to Dave Chappelle all 3 times he was nominated for Best Comedy Album. This year's nominees for Best Comedy Album are Drop Dead Years by Bill Burr, Postmortem by Sarah Silverman, Single Lady by Ali Wong, What Had Happened Was by Jamie Foxx, and Your Friend Nate Bargatze by Nate Bargatze. To me, you got to give it to Sarah Silverman there, but we'll see what they do. Recording Academy President Harvey Mason said he had a hard time convincing Trevor to come back. Mason said it was the longest I've ever waited for Tex to come back in my life, but Trevor's been so instrumental in the success or the recent growth of our show. He set the tone for us, who we are, and what we do on this night. So smart, so thoughtful, so funny, and he's just a music guy. Trevor not expected to return next year when the telecast moves to ABC. Executive producer Ben Winston told reporters last week, after last year's show, Trevor said, look, I've done a great 5 years. It's time to hand the microphone off to somebody else and move on. It got to December, and we hadn't found anybody that we absolutely loved. You guys should have asked Joe Coy. Winston said, I sent Trevor a video, and I was on my knees in the video, and I said, please look at this incredible lineup that we've got on the show. The only thing missing is you. Come back and do one final year. It's the last year on CBS. Let's make it your last year, too. Trevor texted back, sure, let's do it. See you there. Can't wait. Mason added, he's been a big part of the evolution of our show, of our organization, to be honest, because he presents so well the gravitas, the sensibility, the emotional intelligence that he has, and his interactions with the artists really has changed the tone and the tenor of our show, so we're extremely thankful for his 5, now going on 6 shows. I'm looking forward to seeing what Trevor does tonight in terms of commentary. Last year, Trevor commented about Donald Trump returning to the presidency. He made the joke, there's been a few changes in Washington, so I'm going to enjoy tonight because it might be my last time I get to host anything in this country. It's a tough spot tonight, but you really can't ignore the elephant in the room, unless, of course, you're Saturday Night Live or Jimmy Fallon, then you can. But to be fair, it's also not why people are at the Grammys. So, you got to address it, but you can't dwell on it. Tough spot. I think Trevor's up to the task. Bert Kreischer was on the Club Shay Shay podcast. He said he did receive an offer to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival for a lot of money. Bert's explanation, they wouldn't let me perform shirtless, so I passed. He was asked if he would ever return to Russia after his famous experience as the Machine. Kreischer said, never. Here's the deal. After the whole Riyadh Comedy Festival debacle, if Putin hits me up and he wants me to do a private show, I think PR-wise, it's not a bad look. I'd be terrified, but it's another story. But come on in, it's a special. Ride shirtless on a horse with Putin. I'd watch that. From The Guardian, they went to see Louis C.K. quotes a comic who leaves a sour taste. It was the first of Louis' 3 nights in the Apollo Theater. They write, he's named the show ridiculous, but with all this talk of friends dying or growing apart or moving his 89-year-old dad to a care home where the peripheral role his 2 adult daughters play in his life, mortality might have suited it better. Shame Ricky Gervais got there first. The Guardian writes, he remains such a master craftsman that every complaint is always a clear component of a joke. He starts his hour on stage with a flourish, a mock confession about an AIDS test that flirts with the obvious, then pulls the rug out from under you. He does the same as he applies philosophical routines about the fruitlessness of hope and the way God never answers our prayers. Laughing yet? Actually, a lot of this goes down really well with a sold-out crowd. 3 stars out of 5. One way you can support this program is you go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. There are a couple bucks in the tip jar. I'll tell you, this morning at the National Donuts chain, it was really warm. And I was like, I wish I had brought my laptop. I would have just worked out of here. It was really, really warm. I've been so cold. I can't take this cold anymore. Another thing you can do, a different way to support the show, is become a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts. You click that banner. It says uninterrupted listening. And then for $5 a month, you get this show and a bunch of others on the channel without commercial interruption. There is a 30-day free trial with that if you want to see what that's like. Behind the scenes, I can auto-publish the normal episode at 3:05 a.m. Eastern, which is what I usually do. I can't auto-publish the commercial-free version, which drives me nuts. And I can't do it until the regular version is up. So in reality, the commercial-free version goes up usually around 7:15 a.m. in the morning. Believe me, I wish it could go up 4 hours earlier. Drives me nuts. A comedian is facing a backlash and had some shows canceled after making a series of jokes about Renee Good during a set in Poughkeepsie. You may recall Renee Good was fatally shot in Minneapolis by ICE. Ben Bankus made some comments at the Laugh It Up Comedy Club inside Mahoney's Irish Pub on the Poughkeepsie waterfront. He did this on January 10th, just 3 days after Renee Good was fatally shot by ICE. The quote from Bankus, I'm going to read it without inflection. Her last name was Good. That's what I said after they shot her in the face. He then went on to say he believed she should have been shot earlier and made a derogatory reference to her sexual orientation. And then from the recap I'm seeing, used a word that's considered a slur against those with intellectual disabilities. A venue in St. Paul, Minnesota, canceled 6 sold-out performances by the comic after the comments. Bill Collins is the comedy club owner and said the cancellations were about ensuring the safety of the performer and the audience. He told the St. Paul Pioneer Press that people threatened to boycott his venue and picket outside the show. He told the newspaper, "I've never had anything happen like this before." It's not the first time Bankus has had shows canceled over controversial material. This is the guy, you may recall this story, that had performances canceled in Canada after he joked about Indigenous people and residential schools. Not my cup of tea, sir. Meanwhile, in Greenland, the capital of Nuuk has condemned a stunt by a German comedian. The German comedian attempted to raise an American flag in the capital city of Greenland. The mayor said Greenland is currently under intense international attention during a time of genuine anxiety and uncertainty for our population. In this situation, your choices, your jokes, and your methods are not harmless. They have consequences, real consequences for real people. The comedian Maxi Schafroth had been filming in Nuuk for his satirical program on a German public broadcaster. He attempted to raise the U.S. flag outside a cultural center, but was stopped by an employee. A spokesperson for NDR told Politico the editorial team has already apologized to several of those affected, as well as to local media, and has also sought to make contact with the mayor. Mr. Schafroth apologized to staff at the cultural center, as well as to local media. Stephen Colbert was on Seth Meyers. He told Seth's 7 viewers who would like the final guest on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to be the Pope, the American Pope. And on Gossip Corner, Kenan Thompson's former landlord says that Kenan Thompson may have broken a lease on an L.A. property. Kenan is being sued by the landlord for more than $34,000 after allegedly terminating a year-long lease on a rental property in L.A. The Daily Mail says the documents suggest Thompson would still be responsible for rent until a tenant filled the vacancy. The lawsuit says that clause is consistent with California law. The landlord claims he refused Thompson's request to end the lease early, meaning Thompson would still have to pay the rent. Monthly rent was $10,250. A replacement tenant was found to reside at the place for the remaining 9 months at $8,500 a month. And some back and forth on money, including a late fee, a broke fee, without legal fees. And that is your comedy news for today. All right, tomorrow, normal episode at 3:05 a.m. Eastern, and then at noon Eastern, the results of Comedy Survivor, which in my world, I'm about to record. Haven't looked at it yet. Don't know who is voted off. I'm looking forward to finding out. So I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Stay warm.